In 1979, he began freelancing for ESPN, and from 1984 to 87 was a full-time reporter. Since 1992, he has been part of the Showtime Championship Boxing broadcast team and serving as interviewer and ringside reporter. He has also covered boxing during 3 Olympic Games. Among the boxing stars he covered include Hall of Famers George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Lennox Lewis, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, and marvelous Marvin Hagler. A veteran of over 700 championship bouts, his work has earned him 12 National Emmy Awards, the 1997 National Sports Emmy for Journalism and Individual Achievement for his interview with Mike Tyson after his disqualification loss, and 2018 Hall of Fame inductee in the Observer category, Jim Gray.
Thank you very much.
We're going to call another friend of yours up.
Okay.
My name is Mike Tyson. I'm here to talk on behalf of my good friend, Jim Gray. And I knew Gray probably close to 20 years, right? He's always been honest. He's always been a straight shooter with me, even when I was wrong, which I was wrong most of the time. And I didn't want to believe it, but I was wrong most of the time. And I just wanted to know him, like I was saying, he was a straight shooter. This opportunity and this award that he's receiving is way, way overdue. And what's really more important than anything, what I would like to see happen, I would like to see his father been able to come here. And oh shit. It didn't happen, but I know he's looking down and he's looking at his boy, and he's very proud. And it's something that's really crazy, because it's hard getting here. You gotta take a plane, you gotta take another plane, you gotta drive for a hell of a long time. It's hard to get here, because it's hard to get here, to be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm sorry that I'm crying, but I'm thinking about his dad, and I wish he was here to join us in this celebration. And what I can say to my friend, well-deserved, great merit, always stood up, and there's nothing that can deny you from the Hall of Fame. I'm very proud of you, very proud of you. Family's proud of you. It's a good moment, brother. I'd like to give Mr. Jim Gray his ring for the Hall of Fame. Well-deserved, well-honored.
Really don't know that I should say anything after that. And I'm going to veer from what I was going to say. I met Mike Tyson in the late, mid-1980s at a restaurant with my dad. He was with Don King. It was Mateo's restaurant. He walked over to the table, said hello. I was already in boxing. Don had hired me. And he spoke to my dad for about 10 or 15 minutes. It was before he was the young heavyweight champion of the world. Every single time I saw Mike Tyson since that, until my father's passing a few years ago, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "How's your dad? Please give him my best. I hope to see him soon." Mike and I have a long history together. Somewhat ironic that the man who threatened to kill me in public is now inducting me into the Hall of Fame. That's only half the story. 45 seconds later, he kissed me on my cheek, and 25 years later, I'm still trying to figure out what's more disturbing. You know, I never once contemplated in my life that I'd be standing in the ring next to someone who bit another man's ear, and that same man would become one of my very close and dear friends. That he would, in so many ways, make me famous. So much so that when I interviewed President George W. Bush in the White House, the first thing he asked me is, what's it like to be around Mike Tyson? When I told him it's wonderful, it brought a big smile to the president's face. Mike, I'm so pleased that you're here. I can't thank you enough for all that you've done and all of the unforgettable moments that we've shared. And I thank you and your great wife, Kiki, for all that you have done for making this day possible. Kiki, stand up, Kiki. The Boxing Hall of Fame immortalizes all of these great fighters who display tremendous pride, courage, and talent. It honors those who enter the ring and have achieved excellence. So this magnificent honor that I'm receiving today comes with tremendous humility and a sense of, how could this happen? I never took a punch. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of you out there who would have liked to have seen that happen. In fact, my very dear friend, Gary Shandling, who would have loved this day, once said, I should have my own show, and it should be entitled, I Can Make You Hit Me. Well, I was discussing with my good friend, Bob Costas, who next month is going to be awarded the Ford Frick Award by the Baseball Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Bob. Well deserving. Great friend, great broadcaster. I'm thankful he's here to celebrate. He said something to me that really resonated. He said that observers, broadcasters, writers, and artists really do belong and are deserving of recognition by the Hall of Fame. He pointed out that the great accomplishments are forever enhanced and celebrated in part because of how they're captured. How right Bob is. We all know that Muhammad Ali was a great boxer and an incredible, towering global figure. But we got to know him better and had a much keener insight to him because of all the interviews that he did with Howard Cosell. You're being quite truculent. And the incredible calls of Cosell and Don Dumphy, Barry Tompkins, and Steve Albert become the indelible images and sounds that leave the lasting impressions that allow us never to forget these great champions. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. I won't continue this path and belabor it. I think you all get the point quite clearly. For a fighter to have been painted on a canvas by Leroy Neiman, written about by Burt Sugar, or to have forever been captured through the lens so brilliantly by Neil Leifer, these moments, these interviews, this artistry lives forever, and it will always be reflected upon by the fans who love the sport. My journey here today has been a very unlikely one. When I was 17 years old, I was an intern for the ABC station in Denver and soon became a videotape editor. One day I was in my editing booth, and the assignment editor came in and asked me if I knew anything about sports. I said, yes. She said, we can't find the news anchor, we can't find the sports anchor. She said, Muhammad Ali is 2.5 hours early in the airport. He switched his flight, run out there and interview him. It was 1978, I was 18 years old. I ran into the weatherman's office, I stole his coat and tie, put it on, got to the airport, and Ali let me interview him for 45 minutes. He was in town to promote his fight with Leon Spinks, and then after that, he would fight an exhibition against Lyle Alzado, a Denver Bronco defensive lineman. Came back to the station, and I was editing myself out of the piece. There was no way they were going to put me on the air, and a man named Roger Ogden walked in and watched it, and he was mesmerized. Not mesmerized by me, but Ali. He turned to me and he said, we're going to put you and this interview on the air. it's barely adequate. So from that point, up until today at least, I've been barely adequate. That began my career in a beautiful relationship that I was able to forge with Ali. He would let me interview him on numerous occasions before all of his fights, and he would call me the young, local Howard Cosell. To hear Ali say that about me had such an impact. It was the great promoter Bob Arum who saw all of these Ali interviews, and he then hired me for his closed circuit and satellite pre-fight interviews. I have always been grateful to Bob for giving me my first opportunity. Soon thereafter, Don King would take notice and employ me for all of his events on King Vision. I got to go all over the world with Don, interviewing him and the fighters. It's been amazing, Don. We went to China and actually stayed in the presidential palace and walked the Great Wall. And you should have seen the reaction of the Chinese when Don visited the mausoleum of Chairman Mao. Everyone was very respectful, but the scene was out loud hysterical. And even the normally very stoic Red Army soldiers were laughing, as Don would say, only in America, and in this instance, only in China. It was exhilarating, one of the great joys of my life. Don, thank you so much. In fact, it was Don that led me to being engaged full-time a quarter century ago by Showtime, as he sold all of the rights to his fights to the network. Jay Larkin took Don's recommendation and hired me. And it's because of the platform that I've been afforded on Showtime and the awesome colleagues that I work with, I'm able to be here today. I love my job at Showtime, and I love the people that I work with. We have so much fun, and we genuinely enjoy each other. I'm so grateful and thankful to Leslie Moonves, Matt Blank, David Nivens, and Stephen Espinoza. To be able to work with and for you all has been incredible. I've been with Gordon Hall and David Dinkins my entire time at Showtime. Gordon, who is here today, thank you for everything. Your professional life has been dedicated to our boxing program, and we are so lucky to have you. You are the glue that holds us together and makes us great. Thank you, Gordon. Just like Steve said, it's been such a pleasure to work with Al Bernstein. Al and I have been together for a long time, starting at ESPN, when we used to stand outside the venues, literally on boxes and milk cartons. It's such an honor to work with Al and Hall of Famers, Jimmy Lennon Jr., Barry Tompkins, Steve Farhood, and Steve Albert. Steve, I'm so happy to be able to share this day with you. You're a great broadcaster and a great friend. We've witnessed so many amazing bouts and shared so many laughs. Having grown up with your brother Al for years and having worked with you and your other brother Marv for decades, I feel as though I've paid my Albert dues, and I've treasured every moment. All of the Showtime announcers I just mentioned have one common thread. Our producer since day one of Showtime Boxing is David Dinkins Jr., who is the best boxing producer ever. He's prepared and ready for anything. He puts it all together and he trusts us to do our jobs and be our best. I'm hopeful that one day very soon, David will have this day. And I ask very humbly all of you who take those things into consideration to please elect him to this Hall of Fame. No one in television does anything by themselves. I've had a lot of help. So I share this honor with my colleagues, Mauro Ranallo, Paulie Malignaggi, Brian Custer, my wonderful friend Gus Johnson, who's here today, Antonio Tarver, who's also here with us today, Jim Hill, our terrific director, Bob Dunphy, and Chris Gilmore, who has been by my side for more than 1,200 fights. I just wanted to be a part of the team, and it's my teammates who have carried me here to this moment. Many of the most memorable moments occurred when I least expected them. I didn't know that I would interview Ali. I never thought that I would talk to him, let alone travel with him, and that he would become a part of my life. That he would be my first interview, and then, nearly 3 decades later, I would be granted his last interview on television. It was my incredible good fortune, and I'm so grateful to Muhammad and Lonnie Ali. I never thought that I would be able to talk about boxing with and be in the company of the great Nelson Mandela. I never thought that a man who went 50-0, a legend, Floyd Money Mayweather, would totally trust me, take me into his confidence, allow me total access, and grant me, as an interviewer, the ability to see everything related to his boxing, all aspects from the inside. And this is really only in America. I never thought I would work on fights in Atlantic City, interviewing regularly the promoter who would become the 45th president of the United States. Or that I'd be able to take my dad to dinner with his boxing idol, Sugar Ray Robinson, and that Sugar Ray Leonard would become my golfing buddy. Boxing has opened so many doors for me, but many others have had a major impact on my life and my career. Julius Erving. Julie, I'm humbled and honored that you're here today. Thanks for taking me under your wing and for demonstrating how important it is to give other people your time and attention. You taught me how important and trusted relationships are in sports and in life. You see, when Dr. J lets you interview him several hundred times, everybody else sees that. And they say, you know, if Jim Gray's good with the doc, then he's good with me. Julius, thanks for all that credibility. Same to you, Grandpa Silas, you and your wife, Carolyn. I would not have achieved nearly as much in sports without the mentoring, help, and guidance of Chuck Daly and Al Davis. I miss them every single day. But fortunately, I have Mark Davis, who is here with me today, to keep that flame alive that burns so bright. My wife and I, Fran, we have no children, so our friends are very important to us. They are our family. Jerry Richardson, thanks for making such a great effort to be with me here today. And I thank you for your devoted friendship, your loyalty, and your wisdom. Dr. Graham Stedman, thank you for being my life coach. Larry Fitzgerald, the NFL Man of the Year and the Grand Marshal of the Parade today. You are grand indeed. If I had a son, I would want him to have the qualities and character that you have. Thank you, Larry. And I'm going to veer off. The best fighter here today is a man named Marcos Luttrell, the lone survivor. We respect you, we admire you, we thank you for your service, your courage, and everything that you have done. God bless you, Marcos Luttrell. I had two childhood heroes, my father and the great Floyd Little. And one of the most wonderful things that can happen in your life is that you get to meet your hero. And when you do, the image that you have built in your mind is exceeded by the person and who he is in real life. That happened to me. I'm so lucky. Mr. Syracuse is back here in Canastota with me today. My hero, Floyd Little. There's another man who came only here for me today, the heavyweight champion of the world, Deontay Wilder. I'm so proud of you. I've known you since your career began, and I thank you for going so far out of your way today. Thank you, champ. I have tremendous gratitude. I'm thankful to my employers, not only at Showtime, but over the years, to CBS, ESPN, NBC, and to Dick Ebersol and Eric Mann. My appreciation is deep for Westwood One, where they've kept me employed for over 30 years, to Howard Deneroff and Charles Steinhauer. Thanks for all of your support, as well as to the great people at Fox. And now, folks, for just a moment, I'm going to speak to this group right over here, including my brothers, my mother and father-in-law, and all of my nieces and nephews. So many of you have gone so far out of your way to share in this day with me. In my life, I've been blessed with many lasting friendships that I treasure with great love and loyalty. Just like the fighters, you all have been in my corner and played an invaluable role and are a big part of my life. I have expressed to each and every one of you personally how much you mean to me. You all have enriched my life in every way possible, and I'm so appreciative of your support, friendship, and love. And as my dear friend, Mr. Richardson, always reminds me, true friendship is reciprocal. So just know this, I will always be there for all of you. I know that everyone at Showtime would have been here today as well, but we had a fight last night, and that made it impossible. I want to thank all of them, as well as Sam Watson, Al Heyman, Richard Schaefer, Chris de Blasio, and Kelly Swanson. I was blessed with a great mother and father. My father led by example. He taught me the virtues of hard work and dedication, of honesty and of integrity, of decency and reputation, of trust and character. My mom taught me to never give up, as well as to be compassionate, forgiving, and that family was most important. As a very young child, my mom and dad would drive me and my brothers by Sonny Liston's house in Denver to see his Christmas decorations and lights, and they've been unwavering. And finally, to my wife, Fran. She's amazing. I call her the Pied Piper because every child and every animal falls in love and follows her. She lights up every room and lights up my life. Thanks for everything and for taking care of everyone always, and especially this weekend. She watches every fight, and she's my best and most honest critic. Fran, you were in the Hall of Fame long before we got here to Canastota. Ed Brophy, thank you, sir. Grace and everybody on your staff has put together just a magnificent weekend. And I want to thank all of the people here in Canastota. That parade was wonderful. All the great fans and volunteers and everybody at the Hall of Fame. Howard Cosell used to say, I'm just telling it like it is. I just wanted to ask it like it is. As Steve alluded to, we were together. The best fight that I ever broadcast was Castillo versus Corrales. And in the post-fight interview, I asked the late Diego Corrales, how would he describe the fight? He said, this fight was an honor. Well, it's been my honor to have been able to interview all of these great boxers and magnificent athletes this weekend, and this honor has touched me and impacted me in a way that is indescribable. For my life in boxing and sports broadcasting has been much better in reality than any dream I could have ever imagined. Thank you all so much.